otherwise I would have forgotten. Sorry. It's recording now. Something changed. Okay. Good evening. I'm Rustam Engineer. Welcome to the 6th virtual event this year, organized by the Houston chapter of the World Zoroastrian Chamber of Commerce. First, let's thank Hurricane Laura for not interfering with our virtual meeting. It's a big achievement, believe me. All these days we have been talking back and forth. Should we cancel it, not to cancel it? But I'm glad we didn't. As we all know, many Zarathustris of Houston are entrepreneurs, and they own many small and large businesses. With the devastating effects of COVID, we all wonder how these businesses are affected. How are they meeting this challenge? Before I hand over this session to Jal Setna and Sharmin Irani, I'd just like to remind you that if you have not yet sent your year 2020 membership fee of just $25, it's a discounted amount, remember, 50% off discount. Please send a check written to WZCC and mail it to our treasurer, Kershaw Khambata's office address as soon as possible, okay? Remember, our objective is to build the spirit of entrepreneurship, and we need your support and involvement. Without that, none of our valuable projects around the world would be possible. Okay, thank you. Jal, it's all yours.
Okay, thank you, Rustam. So we've got an interesting program today with some very good, successful entrepreneurs from our community. We've got 4 entrepreneurs that will talk to you all about some of the challenges that they're facing in today's environment with the COVID pandemic and what all they're doing to cope with that. So our 4 speakers are going to be Khurshid Challa, who's the president at Sugar Mills Montessori, Naushad Mehta, who's the owner of Cillie's Cakes, Shahram Mali, who's the president of Ahura Transport, and Tanas Chaudhry, who is the CEO and president at Tanches Group of Companies. So let me introduce Khurshid to you. She'll be going first. So for over 30 years, Khurshid Challa has been a leader and a mentor in the early childhood education field. Her path of entrepreneurship started in 1994 when she opened Sugar Mill Montessori School in Sugar Land, Texas. She started her career in education as an assistant teacher in a Montessori school, and the hands-on approach to learning inspired her to acquire her AMS Montessori certification in early childhood education, and later she received her elementary Montessori certification as well. Her passion for Montessori and innovation in education earned her the Educator of the Year award in 2008. So that's great, Khurshid, very commendable. In 2013, Khurshid was selected to participate in the prestigious Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. Now, Sugar Mill Montessori School opened its doors and hearts to 5 students in 1 classroom. Over the years, the school has grown in size from 1 classroom to 8 classrooms and has touched the lives of thousands of students. In 2014, along with her daughter Shara, she opened the Meadow Montessori School in Richmond, Texas. The school's beautiful edible and wildlife habitat school gardens are certified by the National Wildlife Federation and Urban Harvest. The schools have been featured on several television stations like KHOU 13, CW 39, Fox 26, as well as Houston's SBDC's Client on the Move and Katy News. As a member of the American Montessori Society, both schools uphold the core values of the Montessori principles while incorporating 21st century skills so today's students can proudly be tomorrow's leaders. So with that, welcome Khurshid, and you can.
Thank you, Jal. Hello, everyone. Greetings. I just wanted to tell you that I started long time back in Montessori, and today we own 2 Montessori schools. My daughter Shara and I run it, both of them. And I started in this business in 1994 and have continued on that path ever since. Naushad's kids came to my school, as well as a lot of other Parsi children who are from ZAH have been, we've been honored to have them. And we've always worked on the principles of, giving a excellent education and for our students and for our families. My journey into this, I went to school with my daughter. She was 3 years old, and I did my training, and then there was a wrong turn that landed us on this abandoned daycare building, which a few months later became Sugar Mill Montessori. After that, in 2014, we opened our second location in Richmond, and we have been doing great till this pandemic happened. And as you know, most entrepreneurs experience all the growing pains. We have all been through that, and I'm sure you can validate that. But we've had our victories and our struggles. We've gone through economic ups and downs, hurricanes. We were even hit by a tornado one time, but nothing like COVID-19. The way it has impacted our entire industry is devastating. And so I would just like to share with you a few things that we did and what I would say, and I would love to hear what others have done, and if they can give any ideas that we can share would be wonderful. The first thing we did was we were shut down for 2 months, from the middle of March to the middle of May. And we did was we regrouped and we reinvented ourselves. Our revenue stream is strictly from tuition from the parents, and which was severely impacted. But with every crisis, you have to figure out what you can do. So what we did, and I applaud, and actually I would have to give credit to my daughter. She's the one. I'm not techie at all. This was very scary for me to do this Zoom meeting, but Jal assured me that I would be okay. She's the one who implemented a distance learning program. And as you know, our children are a very young age group, and so they really don't have much focus to do a Zoom classroom. So we went the other way. We did recordings, on-demand videos of the teachers, plus we created kits for each individual child. Montessori is a very individualized program, and so we created a program for each child. Every week the parents would come pick it up, and it had interactive, it was like a learning box that they took home. Plus they had all the videos that were done, and they could see them at their time, because a lot of parents were working from home. So having a set time where they had a Zoom meeting was not possible. So that was one way that we really reinvented ourselves. Then once school started in May, we did an entire week and a half of COVID training, safety training, lots of training to the staff, went through all of CDC, health department guidelines. And I think that is what has carried us through really, because when we started in May, we started with a handful of children, eventually with word of mouth that, it was safe. The families are coming back. We had a reduction in our enrollment, and eventually now, by the grace of God, in August with the new school year, we're inching towards our capacity. Then the other thing which I would really recommend is we just stayed in contact with our families as much as possible. Our teachers would call the parents, they would personally talk to each individual parent, they would talk to the children, and just staying in touch, which was very important. You know, that was our customer acquisition, you know, reestablishing ourselves with our families. The other thing with our revenue streams going down was tapping into our resources, seeking out our bankers, accountant, others in Montessori, sharing ideas, seeking out our vendors, trying to get supplies. What I would really say is contact anyone and everyone. I reached out to a lot of people. When we started, there was a very simple thing. Hand sanitizers were not available. And so talking to a person, finally found a refinery, alcohol distillery, not a refinery, in Katy, which was selling sanitizers by the gallon. So it is just reaching out to everybody that you can. In a crisis, you know, crisis brings out the best in people. It really, everybody has been so helpful. They have gone above and beyond, making this thing really worth our while doing it. And the parents have been amazing. We've had great response from that are now coming. Staying in touch, true to yourself, is very important. And as Naushad said, doing Montessori the way it is meant to be done is very important for the children. Finances, mobilizing our resources, that is the number one thing. You know, you don't have kids, you don't have finances. And that was mobilizing all of that. Was a process, but having a great accountant and you know, other resources, we were able to tap into all the government fundings that we could access. Then, you know, the most important thing is that we have to be optimistic. There is always going to be light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that light is showing through. In spite of what you hear in the news, I think there is good coming out of it. But it's still a very fluid situation. So we still have to be prepared for everything that is going to be thrown our way. But I would just like to conclude by saying, do not stress. That's my mantra now. Embrace each day as it comes, because it's going to bring new challenges and you have to work with it. I'm thankful every day for everything that has come my way. Staying true and authentic to our vision and our mission. I think the parents can see that, and that is what we are committed towards, is being there for the children, giving them as much stability, as much of a routine in this crazy world that is around them. And looking at adversity as an opportunity to grow and prosper. That is what I look forward to, that every day is a new opportunity to do something new, something good, something will come out. So thank you. May Ahura Madhu's blessings be with everybody, especially with Laura on its way. Please be safe and, you know, have a wonderful evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Khurshid. That was excellent. Some really good insights and some really good messages at the end of your talk also. Very uplifting. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. So our next speaker is going to be Naushad Mehta. A lot of you folks know him as the owner of Cillie's Cakes of Houston. So a little bit about Naushad. So he has a bachelor's degree in hospitality, majoring in food and beverages from Hotel Management School in Switzerland. He worked in various hotels as an apprentice in the food division all over Switzerland. His final position over there was in charge of all food and beverage related purchases for a very prestigious hotel in Geneva called Beau Rivage. He came to the US as a tourist in hopes of getting a green card. His first interview was conducted by Mr. Sam Bada at the Lexington Hotel in New York. He didn't end up working there, but came down to Houston and started working as an operations manager at a Days Inn in Connecticut. After Connecticut, he came to Houston in 1994 and worked at the Marriott and then changed to Ramada Medical Center as banquet and catering manager. He introduced the Parsi community to that hotel, and there were a whole lot of Naujods and weddings, ZH, Valentine's Ball, Sweet 16 parties, and so on that happened at that hotel because he was there and because of his influence. And he also told me that Zanara Karanjia's first birthday party was over there. So if her parents are listening in, they'll remember that. After a year or so, he left that hotel and he was encouraged by many folks to start his own small business, which he did by starting Cillie's in 1995. A lot of you folks know that his mom, Cillie Auntie, is an exceptional cook, had a really successful business, baking business in Karachi in Pakistan. And so he started off Cillie's working from a small apartment, supplied a few items to the Savoy Shopping Center in Houston. And then finally he got his own outlet in the Savoy Center. Then after 20 years or so, he moved his location to a new place in Stafford, a nicer, larger location. And this year he celebrated 25 years in his business, Cillie's Cakes of Houston. Now, during the pandemic, Naushad has been a lifesaver because he's been cooking a whole lot for a whole bunch of us that don't cook. So it's been great having all kinds of great food to eat, thanks to Naushad. So with that, Naushad, take it away, buddy.
Hey, Jal. This is Naushad. Thanks for the intro, Jal. Okay, before I go on, yes, both my kids did go to the Sugar Mill Montessori school. And I would like to say that was years ago. My older son is in third year college, and my daughter just started her first year in college. We just dropped her off at school last week. So Khurshid, that's a long time ago. Thank you. And also in reference to my hotel in Houston, I think, we did Shara Challa's Naujot also in that same hotel. And it was a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm celebrating my 25th year in business over here. It has been a rough ride. 25 years ago in the Savoy shopping strip, I did everything by myself. We opened the shop. I was the baker. I was the front person serving the customers. I was the cleanup guy, and I used to go home at around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning every night. And I used to come back early in the morning. So in the beginning, it was tough, but hard work always pays off, I guess. So after 20 years, I moved to the new location, and I kept both locations, the Savoy Center and the new location, which is now 6 years old. But since they were so close to each other, so I just decided to stop the Savoy location and just concentrate on one location where my presence was there. I always like to be there all the time, most of the time, because I want to know what's happening, customers' response. And when you are there, the customers are also happy. So I guess it has been a fun ride, but also a little stressful life also. With the help of my parents, I have learned a lot. They have advised me and they have guided me throughout, and I'm so thankful to them. I hope you are listening, by the way. Are you on? I don't know. All right. Now, about the pandemic. Yes, everything was going great till, I think, March. It was the spring break time, and then all was happening, and chaos was going on, what's happening, what's not. And then once spring break was over, schools were told to shut down. None of the kids went back to school. And what happened was, yes, that was Nowroz weekend when it all happened. And Nowroz is a big time for me, not just for the Parsis, but also for the Ismaili community. The Aga Khan community in Houston, there are so many Jamaat Khanas, and thankful to God that I cater most of their cakes to all the Jamaat Khanas, especially for their parts. Parts are where the main head leaders of the Jamaat Khana sit, and also for the Nanni. Nanni is done where most of the Ismaili community people, they come and offer gifts to the Jamaat Khana, whether it's cakes or homemade food or something or the other. It's blessed, and then it's auctioned off at night later on during the day. And that was a big struggle. And I had a list of so many weddings, so many parties that same weekend of Nowroz. And I said, oh God, I was so worried, how am I going to manage all these orders? And then it all came crashing down. Everything, people were calling in, sorry, we'll have to cancel. Even though I had deposits, I had their credit card numbers, I understood, and I said, don't worry, we'll reset it once everything gets back to normal. And we were told in March, oh, this is going to just last for a couple of months, June, I think end of May, June, everything will be back to normal. So I said, okay, 2 months, we'll figure it out. And so a lot of business was lost. And I used to come home very early. I used to be home by around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 3 o'clock. I used to watch TV. I used to binge watch different shows, which I never did before. And I also started looking after my health. I was a big boy. And so I started eating healthy also. And I have lost quite a lot and more to go. So that was one thing that I took advantage of. But the bank money was going down and down and down. And then I was worried what's going to happen. And I kept all my employees, but then I had to decide on something. But then all these things came up, like the PPP payroll protection plan came up, some kind of a grant. These were just popping up on the computer, on Facebook, apply here, apply there. So I started asking questions around, and I think Kersho helped me a lot, and her and his team. And I started filling these forms up, and by the grace of God, yes, I did get some funds from the grant and also from the PPP, which also took a big load off my mind. But the thing was that we had to pay it all off by the end of June for it to be be given forgiveness, something or the other. So there were so many details about it. So yes, I got the money. I kept all. They told us to keep 75% of our staff. Yes, we did do all that, but money still kept on going because eventually it has to go somewhere or the other, rent, payroll, this and that. But then it started to pick up a little bit here and there. Yeah. Why forget the Naushad by meals to go? So I think I started in April when everything was so slow. I said, let me pass my time. And people were asking, Naushad, why don't you make this? Why don't you make that? So I formed a small group on WhatsApp. I said, whoever's interested, give me your number. I'll add you on, and I'll prepare about 2-3 meals a week. And the orders need to come in by Sunday or Monday or Tuesday, and then you all can pick it up on Saturday. So that took, it passed my time, and people used to come. I think quite a lot from this group do come. Jal is my regular, by the way. And yeah, I used to have a lot of fun making it. And then luckily, we had to keep it open, the shop, because we were essential. So that was an advantage to me also. So I didn't have to close down. As an essential dealing with food and all, we were allowed to keep it open. I did keep a lot of restrictions about mask wearing, and I had kept boundaries that you have to be a little bit away from our counter, things like that. But some people followed it, some people do not. Even till today, some people do come in without mask. We have to tell them to go out. In fact, I think, Jal, I told you to go out too once when you didn't have a mask on. Some complained, but that's life. If you like it, you don't like it, you have to leave. Now we've started providing masks. If somebody comes, we forgot to bring our masks, and say, here, we have extra, because now masks are available freely in Sam's, and everywhere you go, you can buy those disposable masks. So yeah, that helped me. And then slowly, I guess everybody has to celebrate a birthday. So then what happened was these drive-bys. These drive-bys started flowing in, and we started making small little boxes of little goodies in them. I used to label the little boxes with whatever message they wanted, and they would the customers would pick up these boxes, and they would hand out each of the guests who would come and drive by their houses, greeting and honking outside the doors. So that was a big thing. I think my drive-bys were a lot, but now they've slowed down. In fact, there are very, very few drive-bys now, present August. So that helped. My Naushad buys meals to go helped. And then I guess small people didn't have these big parties. There were no weddings, but small birthday cakes did come in, nicely decorated. So that added a lot. And a new trend started for me. So I'm a little bit more relaxed now, because it's not that great hustle, bustle, hectic life that I used to have before, morning till night, 7. It's still there, but I still come home much earlier than usual. And then Father's Day came in, and then so some celebration or the other does pop in. Graduation was a big thing, so everybody wants a graduation cake, even though it was small. We did have a good demand for graduation cakes, Father's Day, Mother's Day, and the Eid. Oh yeah, Ramzan. Ramzan was a good month for us, because people wanted some kind of food at the end for iftars and this and that. And then Eid was a big hit. So luckily, compared to so many other businesses who have suffered, I think I have been blessed. We have been blessed, and I'm very, very thankful. I guess I may be one of the lucky ones. I'm not complaining. And when people ask how's things, I always say everything is good by God's grace. And there are so many people, not just in America, they are all over the world, they are suffering a lot. Our government was here to help us. There are countries where the government is not there to help us. And I guess this is going to be a new trend for many months to come, and hope it all ends soon. Weddings have started again. The small weddings, some people have home weddings of 40 to 50 people. Some have about 100, maybe in a small hotel or something. So that has picked up again. So it's okay, I guess. What's the time right now? Yeah, I'm here. I'm enjoying. I guess that's about it.
Thank you, Naushad. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. So I guess in any business, sometimes you have to pivot, right? So it was interesting to see how you talked about, okay, so you were extremely busy with your cakes and large parties and this, that, and the other, but the pandemic kind of forced you to pivot, and now you've got a booming business with a lot of the meals that you do, and it's every week or any week that you don't cook, there's a lot of us that are whining that, oh gosh, now what are we going to do? There's no food from Naushad this week. So great example of how you have to kind of pivot and make things happen for yourself sometimes. So thank you, Naushad. Great talk. So our next speaker is going to be Shahram Mali, and Kayamas, you were going to introduce him, so please go ahead and do that.
All right, thank you, Jal. Well, to talk about Shahram, imagine the year was 1987. The morning sun slowly made its way over the horizon, lighting the plains of Yazd. The door of an adobe house in this farming Zarathushti community briefly cracked open, and a young man, barely 17 years of age, looked around furtively, then ran, hugging the darkness, to a truck lurking in the shadows. He crawled under the underbelly of the truck, and the truck took off for his destination. Freedom from an oppressed country. Freedom from a country where young lads like him were used as cannon fodder in the ongoing war between Iran and Iraq. After an arduous long journey, the truck stopped at the border in Quetta, which is in Pakistan. This young man's love affair with trucks and the trucking industry started at about that time. He made his way to another city of Pakistan called Karachi, from where most of us come, where he stayed for 2 years working at a bakery. Soon thereafter, he was one of the few lucky ones to be selected under a refugee program for young Zarathushtis developed by Zoroastrian Studies, assisted by Fazana. Working with the American consulate to allow Iranian Zarathushtis to settle in the United States of America. Freedom-minded Shahram chose the greatest city of Houston in Texas and set up his roots over here. He worked here, went to school at Texas A&M, where he acquired a bachelor's degree in industrial engineering. He worked as a manager for UPS and finally decided to start his own business in transportation and logistics. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce a hardworking, self-made young Zarathushti who brought himself up from his bootstraps, literally. I give you Shahram Mali. Shahram, you can continue with the rest of the story.
Thank you very much, Kai, for the nice introduction. Everything you said about me is 100% truth. I did have a very hard life coming to US, you know, as a young Zarathushti, as everybody know in Iran, there's not that many opportunity, and they always, you know, give you a hard time over there. So I had to find a way to get out of Iran and have a better life for myself. So as Kaimar said, I fled to Pakistan. Then I went to Pakistan. I worked at the bakery for 2 years, learned a little bit of Urdu, and then got lucky to come to the US. And then that's when I met Kaimars, and he helped me tremendously. And I do appreciate that very much, Kaimars. I never forget all the help that you have provided for me. And then from here, I went to college and got my degree in industrial engineer. I was one of the lucky ones to get picked by UPS to go work for them. So I worked there for a little bit, and then I realized, well, I can do a lot better, you know, than work at the UPS and just, you know, live on salary. So while I was going to college, I got my driver license, commercial driver license, and to pay my tuition, I was driving trucks on the weekends so I can provide, you know, money for myself to pay for my tuition and all the expenses. So I learned a little bit about trucking while I was in college. And then when I was at UPS, I learned a little more at UPS because I was interacting with a lot of drivers. I learned a lot of skills from them and from the on-road managers. So after that, I decided, well, I can start a business and just work on my own. So I went, purchased a truck, and I started driving and finding new customers. So by the grace of Ahura Mazda, I had provided very good service to my customer, and I built up a lot of customer with a very good relationship with them. So I decided, well, I can handle everything by myself. So I bought another truck, hired another driver, and from there on, every year I added a new truck. I added a truck to my fleet, and the business was doing really good till, of course, we had that COVID problem, and then from there, it just like everybody else, we had so much problem with the finding loads for the drivers because a lot of businesses were shutting down, and most of the product that we deliver go to the commercials, like building, manufacture basically. So that made it very difficult for us to have all the trucks. So that forced me to shut down 2 of my trucks. And to cut the cost, I had to take them off the insurance to survive because I could not pay the insurance and have the truck sitting there. So slowly, try to make it, and like everybody else, try to stay floated. And that's what we are doing right now. Just try to stay floated and hoping that the industry will pick back up and I can put my trucks back on the road, all of them. What is helping me right now to survive this situation is all the good relationship I have with my customers. Even though they don't have a whole lot of business, they're still giving me a lot of business because I have a very good relationship with them and I provide excellent service to them. So that's what really helping me right now. Pretty much that's all I have to say, and hope to God that everything picks back up and we all will survive. And that's all I have.
That's great. Thank you very much, Shahram. Appreciate it. Obviously, what you bring up about relationships and the services that you provide and the value that you provide to your customers, it's just invaluable. So important points to keep in mind always, regardless of whether you're in a business type of or a business owner, or if you're working for someone, or regardless. Extremely important things to remember, obviously. So then our next speaker is Tanaz Chaudhry, and let me introduce you to her. So Tanaz is the president and CEO of Tanchez Global Management, Inc. It's a full-service technology company. Tanchez is an award-winning, fully certified IT services provider that specializes in technology and cybersecurity for state, local government, education agencies, and private businesses. This week, Tanchez completes 22 years of operation as a Texas corporation under the leadership of Tanaz and Cillie Chaudhry. It gives me great pleasure to share that Tanchez was just recognized as number 1,524 of the Inc. 5,000 fastest growing companies in the United States. And it's number 191 of the fastest growing companies in Texas. So that's very impressive. Now, Tanaz has served as an influencer and a leader for the Women of Technology, serving on numerous boards and commissions and earning the respect of her peers through a multitude of awards, recognitions, and certifications. One of the awards that she recently received was the National Women in Technology Leading in a Time of Crisis, which validates the leadership she has brought to her team, her industry peers, and her clients. She values her accomplishments, but she's most proud of her role of being a mom to Chloe and Tate, her teenagers. Tanas, with that, please go ahead and take it away.
So I have to share that it is Cillie Chowdhury, and that's where Tanchez comes from. So taking a little bit of the flair from Kayoma's opening statement, I'm going to say that Tanchez Global Management actually started, the idea was conceived and the name was born on the steps of Bombay University when Cillie and I were best friends in school. And that was back in 1989. In 1998, we incorporated in the great state of Texas. And on the 28th, which is this Friday, we complete 22 years as a Texas corporation. I'm very proud to say that even though the journey was not easy, like it isn't for most entrepreneurs, it's been fabulous. The good, the bad, and the ugly have made it what it is for us. And it's been a whole journey. It's been a whole journey. I've struggled with finding my role because my qualifications, I'm a research chemist and I worked in international finance for a little bit. I spoke 7 languages. I had a multitude of ideas, and I'm sure most entrepreneurs here will appreciate the fact that you really feel it in your bones when you find the right thing. And that was Tanchez for us. Again, like I said, it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. The company was actually established and the name was born back in 1989 on the steps of Bombay University when Cillie and I were friends. Through grit and grind, equal parts of each, I feel like it is really important to share that it's never an easy journey for an entrepreneur. So whatever you pick as your field, you have your good times and bad times. And to add to it, when you throw in a pandemic or you throw in an emergency situation of any kind, it only yields to make it more challenging. And in this case, I would say the 2 words that resonate over and over and over again for us as a business is authentic reevaluation. You have to authentically reevaluate what you are doing. You have to reset. And if that means you have to restart on a few things, you have to do that. We've done that a number of times. A successful business is part people, part product, and part processes. But the authentic you is what people are buying. In technology, we've noticed that there's a lot of competition. Technology is ever evolving internally and externally. So just keeping up with the sources, just keeping up with the technology, just keeping up with the products in itself is a challenge. And when you throw in a pandemic, in our case, we had a little bit of a reverse effect being in technology, because everybody suddenly wanted everything technology to be, turnkey. Everybody wanted to work from home. Things we had been pitching, the disaster recovery and business continuity that we had been pitching for years before this. Everybody wanted it done yesterday. So the value of what we were saying got validated through this pandemic. And when people say there's always a silver lining, this was our silver lining. It created that authenticity that we had brought to the table. And now everybody believed that Tanchez was the right choice for this particular, to be a technology partner for this particular pandemic for them. So that allowed us to, again, increase our business processes. But again, it did not come as easy as it sounds. Yes, our business processes increased, our workload increased, but the pay did not. People didn't want to pay. Our clients didn't have money. They had furloughed or laid off part of their teams, and they wanted to conserve every bit of the cash flow they could. So they did not have the ability to expense that as a part of the IT budget. So we gave them 90-day terms, 120-day terms. What I can truly advise as a business owner that really has saved us, not once, but on numerous occasions, is keeping a steady cash flow available for emergency situations. it's something that I had picked up from my parents and my grandparents, and it's what we call save for the rainy day. Well, when it rains for a whole year, then you have to dip into those savings and you have to pull that out. You also have to have those authentic relationships where you can go back and leverage from your vendors saying, hey, you know, my clients are asking me for net 90, net 120, net 180 terms when I used to be at net 30. This has created an impactful reason for me to reach out to you. So I guess creating efficiencies like that in your business is really, really important. I found that that is one thing, that planning was one thing that helped us tide through the difficult times. We did get a chance to step in and acquire quite a few new clients. This also made me realize that if we were bringing new clients on, we should bring new people on that were being furloughed. So we were able to absorb a few new people from the market that were being laid off, that were excellent representatives of the industry. And that again added value to what we were doing. And all in all, I feel like this pandemic, it taught us a couple of valuable lessons, not only as a business, but as individuals. Is authenticity is important because people only call back people they trust. If they don't trust you, if they don't believe you, they will not give you business. If they are confident in your services, know what you are doing and do it well. If they are confident in the services being provided, like Naushad said, people are confident about his food. So whether it was a catering for 1,000 people wedding, or it was lunch boxes for a drive-through party, it still was him that they went back to because they enjoyed him being authentically himself and reinventing the business. And I felt that that's something that even Khurshid did, is, you know, she reinvented herself, her program, her studies, her syllabus. Shahram, of course, is reinventing himself as he's learning about the pandemic and leveraging those relationships on trust. So just the panel here can exhibit that it is, the most important part is people don't buy from you because they can't buy anywhere else. People buy from you because you create that value for them. Chanchas has had its own share of misgivings in understanding the processes because we are also a first-gen company. It was very difficult for us to run as a technology company with the big boys and establishing those relationships and working those clients and working the vendors and creating the magnitude that we wanted to create and the impact that we wanted to share was not an easy task. It was one cell at a time. I am very, very proud of us as a company because even though we complete 22 years in business on Friday, the only two salespeople in my company are Cillie and I. I don't have people going around promising things they cannot deliver. So it is really, really important for us to realize the value that we bring to our clients. What is it that people are looking at us for? Is it authenticity? Is it communication? Is it trust? Is it all of the above at the same time? And digressing a little bit from the comprehensive company overview and moving a little bit into a personal hindsight, what happened during this pandemic really validated my role as the leader in this particular industry, which is very difficult for women to break into. Most of the leadership roles are managed by men in technology. I realized that I was the ear to all of the problems, not only internally within my team, but I found that a lot more people, especially the men in the industry at executive levels, were able to open up about issues that they were currently facing, and I could be that patient here. I am also grateful because I feel like everybody wants to leverage that face-to-face interaction and collaboration. And trust me, there is no substitute for that. But in a crazy time like this, what I realized was people found it easier to open up on Zoom. They were a little more relaxed. They were a little more conversational, and they valued the service that we gave and validated it. As again, a woman in the business of technology, it validated what I brought to the table. It validated that emotionally I was there and available, not only again for my executive clientele, but also for the governmental agencies, also for the small business clients that we've had since inception of Tanchairs. So having that across the board feel was really, really important. Did we start selling anything new? No. The same products that we sold were reinvented. People actually realized that the packages that we had spoken to them previously about now actually made sense to them. This is the new normal of what it's going to be like if things were not to function in the normal as we know it. So having understanding within those arenas of what business is going to look like tomorrow. How is this remote workforce going to be effective? And we've actually been reached out to create business continuity during disaster recovery, which is something we started back in 2003 before it had a sexy name. So I felt very validated during the pandemic. Was it hard? Yes. Financially, were we hit? Yes. Did I have my orders on hold? Yes. The whole world did. The whole world did. But was it good for the soul of our entrepreneurial spirit? Yes, it was very good for our soul. It was very good for all of us to take a step back, and whether it was shedding a few pounds, like Naushad said, or in my case, gaining a few pounds, it's helped us reevaluate the human element that we had so quickly dispersed ourselves from in the rat race of just the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And that could be something that's, you know, social connections, family commitments, you know, work commitments, just the whole. So technology had worked reverse for us before the pandemic. It actually worked where it was all encompassing. People were looking at their phones day in and day out. And suddenly they realized when the pandemic happened that all of this did not matter if you didn't have your health, if you didn't have your sanity, if your family wasn't available for you or around you. And I think that the biggest takeaway for me is, again, something that has been a little bit kind of self-fulfilling. And that is our company tagline, which we formed again back in '98, which is people-centric and tech-forward since 1998. Thank you so much to all of you for giving me the opportunity to chat about this and creating a new perspective as we've seen it and allowing me to share this. So thank you very much to the WZCC.
Thank you, Tanaz. Thanks a bunch. That was a great talk, very motivational. Loved hearing about the authenticity, the trust that you build with your customers. And I guess in this pandemic, the importance of business continuity, obviously, that you all bring to the table as one of the things that you can bring to the table for your clients. So great talk. Thank you.
Thank you.
So folks, we've got a few minutes left, and I'll turn it over to Charmaine. If you all have questions for any one of our speakers, you can use the chat function in Zoom. So Charmaine, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to all the speakers. And I think as we went through it, we saw some common threads amongst, you know, all the businesses and how they kind of work through the tough COVID times. You had customer service, innovation, flexibility, to reset the business, to reevaluate and staying relevant. Those definitely did come through. But I think one that really, to me, struck a chord with each and every one of the entrepreneurs definitely was the passion that they have for the business, the positive, just the positive spirit. You don't give up. You have that positive spirit and the energy to just keep on going. And, being an entrepreneur and a woman in tech and everything, just hats off to you guys. And also thank you to Khurshid and everybody. Thank you for all the business continue that you guys have provided us in this difficult time, because I think all of us can attest it was a difficult time, even as consumers of technology or as a mother with a child, in daycare and everything. It's definitely a tough time we went through. So please list your questions in the chat window, and I'm going to read them out. So we're going to be moderating the questions thereof. So the first one, we have actually Homi just calling out that it's a great WZC session. And my thanks to all the super speakers for their input during these trying times. All stay safe, especially with another storm that's on its way. So please load your questions. I'll be reading them out. I think we only have about a couple of minutes here to wrap up, but we would love to read out as many questions and get answers through. And maybe I have one for Tanaz, actually, as we get some questions on. So I think one of the things, Tanaz, I admire about you, and I wanted to ask you how you do this, as a woman in technology and a woman of teenagers and a mother of teenagers. It's amazing how you balance, your the work piece of it, the entrepreneurship piece, and then being a mom. And I think what's amazing about Tanaz is she gives 150% to both. So she's like the super mom out there, and she's also a super CEO. So we'd just like to learn from you, how do you do it? How do you balance that?
Well, there's actually 3 points to my success. The first thing is having a really good calendar, and living by it. The second thing is, again, being passionate, because that drives you, that fuels you when you're feeling tired, when you're feeling like you need to stop. So allowing yourself to be self-fueling, if that makes sense, to the gentleman from the trucking company, it's a little bit of a self-fueling mechanism there. And then the third thing is lots and lots of really good cognac and a red lipstick.
Oh my gosh, so the red lipstick, I think the red lipstick, yes, for sure.
There's actually a tech article. It's funny that you say that, because there's actually a tech article for the members that are interested. It's on LinkedIn. It was provided by the Channel company, which is the North American channel of IT providers. And they actually did a write-up on my red lipstick.
Right. That's nice.
So whatever fuels you, what I'm trying to say is, I would hate to see all the men on this chat show up with red lipstick. So just the innuendo here is whatever fuels you, whatever allows you to be you and gives you that little push that you need when things are slowing down. I think that helps me outside of a good calendar and a good cognac.
Thanks, Paz. I don't see any questions yet, but I think maybe I have one more for Shahram, actually, if we have a minute to go there. Shahram, for you, I think one of the, I did see another question for Shahram, actually. I'm going to read out the question instead of asking my question. What did you fear most when you came to the USA, basically as coming to a new country there? So.
Well, the biggest challenge I had was really, I didn't know much of English, and learning that and just, figure out what to do to make money. I did just about everything, as far as working at the restaurant, wash dishes, deliver pizza, just whatever I could do to survive. And, but the main thing is have a goal and just work your way toward it. And my goal was to get an education and make sure I have a good education. And once you have a good education, just open up your mind and think much more broadly, and you'll be more successful than people who don't have education. That was my understanding. And so far it has helped me a lot. When you have education, you can think much better. And I think that's the only thing, really.
I would actually love to add to that, Shahram, uh, I think the biggest the biggest gift we can give anyone is the gift of education. So I only believe I am where I am because a lot of people say, oh, my degree is in something else and something else, and I'm doing something else. And most entrepreneurs are doing not what they studied or what they're degreed for, like myself. But, education teaches you how to learn. It doesn't teach you the subject. So learning how to learn is the reason why we go to school, go to university.
That's
And
exactly
that's the value of education.
yes.
Thank you. Then the next question actually is, I think this is just in general for the panel, so I'll let you pick whoever can answer this, is for those of you who are able to acquire government assistance, can you kindly state the reason and what made it successful for you to get that grant? Like, what were some of the reasons that helped you get successful in acquiring the grant?
For us,
we applied. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Khurshid.
We applied for it and we received it also. Our accountant helped us with it, and that was a lifesaver in keeping all our staff. We did not have to lay off any employees because of that. So that was a godsend.
Yes.
Same here.
Same for us. We received the PPP. Having your taxes in order, your previous years, having your accountability statements in order, having your financials in order was a very large part because we actually received funding in the second round. We didn't receive it in the first round because it was devised among the larger companies, and then there was a big row if everybody remembers. And then we actually got identified in the second round and we got paid. We used 100% of it on payroll because we didn't lay anybody off, and that really helped us tide through those 90 days. So yeah, we're really grateful that we managed to get that.
Mine was an iffy because I went through two. And they said if you go to a big bank, then less chances. And I also got it in the second round. And I was very surprised to see when I opened my bank account, when once a week I log in to check my balance and suddenly, whoop, where did this amount come from? And I was so happy to see the amount because it took a lot of pressure off my mind. And then, we thought that, and the state was that it has to be utilized within 2 months. You have to use 75% of that on payroll within 2 months. And then the rest you can, allocate for certain things like rental, utilities, things like that. But then as time went by, these months kept on going, June, July, August, they haven't been asking for anything. They haven't asked for any breakdown of where the money has gone. So up to now, we are just waiting when that questionnaire will come up and when we have to submit our reports to them. And another thing, living in Fort Bend, this company opened up, I think a month ago. Fort Bend started giving out grants for entrepreneurs living who had their businesses in Fort Bend. And I did take advantage of that. And it's still in process. Let's see what happens. But even if it doesn't come, I'm okay. I'm okay right now. But as I said, I'm blessed. Orders are coming in. Work is going on. So I'm happy.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. So now the next question is for Khurshid. Under what conditions do you expect to go back to normal?
That's a good question. Well, just as soon as they lift all, we have some crazy regulations that is right now we can't allow any parents to come in, temperature checks, and we go a little crazy beyond that as well. So I think when the vaccine comes out, hopefully things will go back to normal. Apart from that, I don't see much happening without, some form of, or we get herd immunity. there's good news that there are other cures coming through. So let's hope. That's a topic for the doctors, I guess, to come up with something so that we can go back to normal. But we are, in spite of all of that, I think our families are seeing the value in all the steps we are taking. They're pretty draconian, but again, you know, we're just staying relevant. We're sending out, we have apps where they can look at their children's progress, calling every day, and that's just helpful.
Yeah.
But all our events and everything have been postponed till we can get together.
Yeah. As a mom of a 6-year-old, I can tell you, when the school shut down, we had I don't know what was tougher, whether those kids staying at home or the pandemic. So yeah, the moment for us when they said, okay, kids can go back with masks on and here are the new procedures, we definitely seriously gave that our consideration. And so thank you, Khurshid. Naushad, we have one for you, and I think we'll start wrapping up because we're over time actually. So Naushad, one for you. Why did you choose Switzerland, and were you always eager to be in the food industry?
Well, to be very honest, I'm not one of those brainy kids like my brother. So I was not great in studies. Chemistry was a no-no, physics was a no-no, math was a no-no. So what do? Since I grew up in this environment, I said, you know, let me try that out. I was planning to come to the US. My SAT scores were so low and so embarrassing, I wouldn't even tell anybody. So of course, America was a no-no because they didn't want me. My TOEFL scores were pretty good. So where do I go? So since I wanted to be in this business, so I guess Switzerland was a great place to go to, because that's the capital for tourism and also for the hotel industry where good schools are. So I applied and I got in, and of course with the help of parents and all that, yeah, I went to Switzerland, and it was the best time. My first week was tough. I wanted to come back. I used to cry when there were no mobile phones those days. So, you know, we had to walk to a post office, get to a pay phone, and I said, I want to come back. But, they said, no, just stay on for one more week and see how it goes. We stayed for 1 week. I want to come back. And then, no, stay for one more week. After that, I just wanted to stay there, and it was the best time of my life.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. That was a very interesting.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Conversation we had with you all. Learn from you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think with this, we'll probably wrap up this meeting. And thank you to all the speakers. We learned a lot from you, from your passion, from your drive, and, you know, from just because, you know, really overall, something like COVID actually teaches us that there is that hardcore and there is a soul to us, and it's really the spirit that pushes us through this. And the entrepreneurial spirit definitely shines through. So thank you to you all, and thank you to everybody for joining our session.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Folks, bye-bye. Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.